The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, mimicking the relentless pounding in my chest. My name is Silas, and at 44 I thought I had it all figured out. A stable job as a software architect, a cozy home, and a wife, Gwendoline, whom I adored. We'd been married for 15 years, a testament, I believe, to our unwavering commitment. Or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Gwendoline, a vibrant and outgoing real estate agent, began working longer hours. "The market's hot, Silas," she'd say, her voice laced with a fatigue I attributed to her dedication. Dinners were missed, weekend getaways postponed, and our conversations dwindled to perfunctory exchanges about our days. I chalked it up to the pressures of her job, always eager to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm a fool, I know that now. A trusting, loving fool. Then came the business trips. "A conference in Portland," she announced one evening, her eyes avoiding mine. "A client meeting in Boise," she declared the following month. Each trip was accompanied by a flurry of hurried packing, a peck on the cheek, and a promise to call. The calls became less frequent, the texts shorter, and the excuses more elaborate. My unease grew, a knot tightening in my stomach with each passing day. I tried to talk to her to express my concerns, but she always brushed them aside. "You're being paranoid, Silas," she'd say, her voice laced with irritation. "I'm working hard to provide for us. Can't you just be supportive?" Her words stung, making me feel guilty for even questioning her. I wanted to believe her, to trust her implicitly, but the nagging feeling persisted, a persistent hum beneath the surface of my life. The first real crack appeared during a casual conversation with a mutual friend, Bertram. Bertram, a jovial and well-meaning accountant, mentioned seeing Gwendoline at a restaurant downtown. "She was with someone," he said casually. "A younger guy, I think. They looked pretty cozy." My heart skipped a beat. "Who was he?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Bertram shrugged. "I didn't recognize him, just some guy." I tried to dismiss it as a harmless lunch, a friendly encounter, but Bertram's words echoed in my mind, fueling my growing suspicion. I started paying closer attention to Gwendoline's behavior, scrutinizing her every move, analyzing her every word. I felt like a detective in a bad movie, searching for clues in my own life. One evening, Gwendoline left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I know I shouldn't have, but I couldn't resist. I told myself I was just checking her email, ensuring she hadn't missed anything important. But deep down, I knew I was looking for something else, something to confirm my worst fears. I clicked on her inbox, and there it was, a recent email from someone named Winston. The subject line was innocuous enough, "Project Update." But the content was anything but. The email was filled with intimate details, whispered promises, and explicit confessions. It was a love letter, a declaration of passion, a testament to their affair. My world tilted on its axis. The words swam before my eyes, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. Winston was not a client or a colleague. He was her lover, her confidant, the man she was betraying me with. I printed the email, my hands shaking, my mind reeling. I needed proof, concrete evidence to confront her with. I couldn't rely on hearsay or suspicion anymore. I needed the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The next day, I decided to follow her. I know it sounds pathetic, but I had to know for sure. I took a day off work, feigning illness, and waited for her to leave the house. She kissed me goodbye, her eyes filled with a practiced tenderness, and headed off to work. Or so I thought. I followed her car, keeping a safe distance, my heart pounding in my chest. She drove to a small coffee shop downtown, a place we used to frequent together. She parked the car and went inside. I waited across the street, watching her through the window. A few minutes later, Winston arrived. They greeted each other with a warm embrace, a lingering kiss. My blood ran cold. I watched them for an hour, their laughter echoing in my ears, their intimacy a cruel mockery of my love. They held hands, they whispered secrets, they shared a connection I thought I had with Gwendoline. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight on my chest, suffocating me with its intensity. I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed into the coffee shop, my anger simmering beneath the surface. Gwendoline and Winston turned to me, their faces etched with surprise and guilt. "What is going on here?" I demanded, my voice trembling with rage. Gwendoline's face paled. "Silas, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her eyes darting nervously between me and Winston. This isn't what it looks like. Oh, really? I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Then what is it, Gwendoline? A business meeting, a friendly chat, or is it something more? I pulled out the email, the printed copy crinkling in my hand. Care to explain this? I asked, shoving the email in her face. She glanced at it, her eyes widening in horror. Winston shifted uncomfortably, his face flushed with embarrassment. Silas, please, let's talk about this at home, she pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. This isn't the time or the place. No, Gwendoline, I said, my voice rising. We're going to talk about it right here, right now. I deserve an explanation. I deserve the truth. She finally broke down, tears streaming down her face. It just happened, she sobbed. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was a mistake. A mistake, I repeated, my voice filled with disbelief. This wasn't a mistake, Gwendoline. This was a deliberate act of betrayal. You lied to me, you cheated on me, you broke my heart. Winston tried to intervene, but I stopped him with a glare. Stay out of this, I warned him. This is between me and my wife. He backed down, his eyes filled with fear. I turned back to Gwendoline, my heart aching with a pain I had never known before. I don't understand, I said, my voice cracking. How could you do this to me? How could you betray our marriage, our love? She didn't have an answer. She just stood there sobbing, her face buried in her hands. I looked at her, at the woman I had loved for 15 years, and I felt nothing but emptiness. The love was gone, replaced by a bitter resentment, a deep sense of betrayal. I walked away, leaving her standing there with her lover, their secret exposed, their lies shattered. I walked out of the coffee shop, into the rain, and into a new chapter of my life. A chapter filled with pain, anger, and uncertainty, but also with the promise of a future free from her deceit. The following weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and heartbreak. The divorce was messy, acrimonious, and emotionally draining. Gwendoline tried to apologize, to explain her actions, but I refused to listen. The damage was done, the trust broken beyond repair. I learned that Winston was a junior partner at her real estate firm, a charming and ambitious young man who had seduced her with his flattery and attention. He was married himself, with 2 young children. His affair with Gwendoline had cost him everything. His marriage, his job, his reputation, karma, I suppose. But it didn't bring me any satisfaction. I was still heartbroken, still angry, still struggling to come to terms with the betrayal. I moved out of our house, the house we had built together, the house filled with memories, both good and bad. I found a small apartment in the city, a place to start over, to rebuild my life. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hello," I said cautiously. "Silas, it's Winston's wife, Isolde," a woman's voice said on the other end of the line. "I know this is probably the last thing you want to hear, but I felt like I needed to talk to you." I was surprised, but I agreed to meet her for coffee. We met at a small cafe near her house, a place far from the scene of Gwendoline and Winston's affair. Isolde was a petite, soft-spoken woman, her eyes filled with sadness. She looked exhausted, worn down by the weight of her husband's betrayal. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our anger. We discovered that we had a lot in common, a shared experience of betrayal that bonded us in a way that no one else could understand. We talked about our marriages, our hopes, our dreams, and how they had been shattered by the infidelity of our spouses. We found solace in each other's company, a sense of understanding and support that helped us to navigate the difficult path of healing. We became friends, confidants, allies in our shared struggle. Over time, our friendship deepened, evolving into something more. We discovered that we enjoyed each other's company, that we shared similar values, similar interests. We started spending more time together, exploring the city, going to concerts, sharing meals. We laughed, we cried, we supported each other through the ups and downs of life. One evening, as we were walking along the waterfront, Isolde stopped and turned to me, her eyes filled with emotion. "Silas," she said softly, "I know this might be too soon, but I can't deny how I feel. I've fallen in love with you." I was stunned, speechless. I had never considered the possibility of a romantic relationship with Isolde, but as I looked into her eyes, I realized that I felt the same way. I had fallen in love with her too. We started dating, tentatively at first, unsure of what the future held. But as we spent more time together, our love grew stronger, more resilient. We found comfort in each other's arms, a sense of peace and belonging that we had both been missing for so long. We knew that our relationship would raise eyebrows, that people would judge us, that some would even accuse us of being opportunistic. But we didn't care. We had found love in the midst of heartbreak, a second chance at happiness. We weren't going to let anyone take that away from us. We got married a year later in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. It was a simple, intimate affair, a celebration of our love, our resilience, our second chance. I looked at Isolde as she walked down the aisle, her eyes shining with happiness, and I knew that I had made the right decision. I had found my soulmate, my partner, my love. And it was all thanks to Gwendoline's betrayal. It's strange how life works. Sometimes, the worst things that happen to us can lead to the best things. Gwendoline's affair had shattered my world, but it had also opened the door to a new beginning, a new love, a new life. I am grateful for the lessons I learned, the pain I endured, and the love I found. It made me who I am today, a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate man. As for Gwendoline, I heard that she moved to another city trying to escape her past. I hope she finds peace, that she learns from her mistakes, and that she finds happiness. But I will never forget the pain she caused me, the betrayal she inflicted upon our marriage. And I will always be grateful for the love I found with Isolde, the woman who helped me to heal, to forgive, and to love again. Life isn't always fair, but it's always full of surprises. You never know what's around the corner, what challenges you'll face, what opportunities you'll be given. The key is to stay open to the possibilities, to embrace the unknown, and to never give up on love. Because even in the darkest of times, love can find a way to bloom. So to anyone listening who has experienced betrayal, know that you are not alone. Your pain is real, your anger is justified, and your healing is possible. Take your time, be kind to yourself, and never lose hope. Because even after the most devastating heartbreak, love can find a way to find you again. Trust in the process and believe in the possibility of a brighter future. You deserve it. I promise you, you do.